1 a.m. and you're about to go to bed like Kyle over here. You close your blackout curtains, turn off your TV, and put in your earplugs. Complete darkness and silence. It feels like you're just floating in space. Well, actually, Kyle, there are sounds in space, and they are absolutely terrifying. I'm sorry, did I scare you, Kyle? I saw you were up and thought tonight we could try and find out what extreme space objects sound like, and, even better, what these scariest sounds in space actually are. But you're probably wondering, how can we even hear sounds in space? Well, it's not actually sound, it's simply the visual data transformed in a way you can actually understand it. This process is called data sonification, and oh boy, is it nightmare fuel. Let me put you in this chair, strap you in, and put this VR headset on you with complete 1000% permission. First up, let's begin closest to us in the solar system. Because not only did we manage to land on a comet with a human probe, but we also managed to find out that it has incredibly creepy noises. And trust me, it's not what you'd expect. Take a listen for yourself. Wait, you think it sounds like Darude Sandstorm Space Edition, Kyle? Yeah, it does actually sound quite funny. And they say it's magnetic and sped up 10,000 times. But I don't know about you, I would not like to have that thing anywhere near me. Just like Saturn. I mean, being close to that planet would instantly kill you anyway, but on your way out, you would hear the following. Yep, just demonic screams of hell as Saturn's magnetic field is killing its own rings. What do you mean that was scary? You've never watched a horror movie before bed, Kyle? It's about to get way worse than that. It's now time to leave the solar system and go into the interstellar medium. Yes, this is the gas and dust between all stars and objects in the galaxy. Most of this stuff was made by supernovas and dying stars over billions of years. Some of it makes new stars, like our sun. The rest of it, just plasma that literally makes noises like this when you send a human probe to investigate. Yeah, that's the literal vibrations you hear when a bunch of space plasma hits a probe. I'm not sure why it's so damn loud though. But where do we go to next? I know, we have never seen a nebula up close. Nebulas are massive clouds of hydrogen and helium gas and dust that are nurseries for stars being born from dense gas, or horror-based stellar graveyards, or shedding skin of massive alive stars like Wolf-Rayets, which you know can be this much bigger than the sun. So while there are many types of nebula, with some of them looking beautiful and sounding like the music you typically hear at a relaxing spa, many have sounds of the damned, like me when I'm forced to sing karaoke. Take the Helix Nebula for instance. This looks like a giant eye and is literally a white dwarf, the core of a dead star, lighting up surrounding gas it shed itself. And get this, because the X-ray radiation is way more than you'd ever expect, even from such an extreme object, scientists think that when it shed its layers to die, it also murdered a gas giant planet in the process. What the actual f***? That truly is a screeching cry of a star blown apart by the laws of physics, short of going supernova. They call the Helix Nebula the Eye of God. Personally, I think it's the eye of get me the f*** out of here and give me another nebula, like the Pillars of Creation. Yes, that's a much nicer name. These pillars are a feature of the Eagle Nebula, which has around 8,100 stars. But thanks to some super hot young stars, the pillars are actually being stripped away. This is a great example of where stars are born, they'll go supernova, they'll destroy things, reshape, live, die, and in the process create new nebulas. The circle of star life. I'm sure this will sound great. Okay, well that just sounded like Pillars hate everything about that situation, and you know what? I agree with you, Kyle, and I agree with them. That was creepy, so bye-bye and good luck, Pillars. Wait, what's that? You're cold, Kyle? I mean, I did have to turn off the heating in this basement due to my wife complaining about the electricity bills, so let's just pretend you are on a big red hypergiant, a nice aging star like 74 Draconis. Beneath its surface, hot gas rises and sinks like boiling water, creating pressure waves, real sound, that ripple through the star. These waves form standing patterns that change the star's brightness, And when the good folks at NASA, who unfortunately rejected my job application, which then caused me to run this godforsaken channel abusing you, sped up its deep dying pulses by 3 million times, it finally became audible. Well, that's definitely not an alarm you'd want to wake up to. Gosh, it's still better than the standard one from my iPhone though. Please make it stop. Okay, you want the real extreme objects, the truly horrifying sounds that make you stand still and imagine being consumed by the very nature of the universe itself. Now, you might be familiar with pulsars, insanely fast rotating neutron stars made of dense neutron soup the size of your hometown with the mass of the sun. But have you ever heard them for real? And did you know that we've seen one born in documented history? That's right, Kyle. Back in 1054 AD, there was a supernova that Chinese astronomers saw. Well, to be fair, much of the world could have seen it because it was visible for about a month, but they actually wrote it down, unlike those Vikings who were just killing everyone. This supernova would eventually form the Crab Nebula. Beautiful. At the middle of that sucker is the Crab pulsar rotating at 30 times a second, and one of the few we can see in visible light. You know, human vision. That means we can have a sound that represents both its X-ray spins, plus its radio and visible light. And with that in mind, I think you're more interested in getting up nice and close and hearing those rotations, right, Kyle? See, what's interesting about pulsars is that they slow down as they age. Something about angular momentum and energy. But that's why you can hear a difference with the Vela pulsar that formed 10,000 years ago and spins only 11 times a second. But that kind of makes it a bit more creepy. Yeah, that kind of sounded like a certain activity I was doing last night when my wife wasn't home. But anyway, I've saved the mind-breaking extremeness for the end because first you have to hear not only a pulsar or even a black hole, but when they physically destroy another star. You know, while it's alive. And then they process that meal by creating an accretion disk. The amount of energy that gets output is ridiculous because we're talking temperatures well over 100 million degrees Celsius. This causes X-rays to then bounce off of the corpse of the star, and basically, it's an echo of its own death. No, that was not an electric car driving by, and yes, I do also wonder what the echo of your death would sound like, Kyle. Sorry, my apologies, that was a bit out of pocket. Just like the strength of kilonovas, these outrageously strong forces of the universe actually make gravitational waves when two pulsars merge, ripples in space-time, that we can convert to ear-unfriendly sounds. Now, while this does make rare metals like gold and platinum, the sound is more eerie than you'd expect. Or imagine ceasing to exist and sounding like your Hot Pockets are done for the microwave. Nothing is better though than the gravitational waves produced by two dead stars becoming a black hole, or obliterating each other. But you can see this too. And here's the thing about sound in space, Kyle. There can be sound. You just need a medium like water, air, glass, and other shit. But in the vacuum of space, we can't have these sound waves. And as you've seen, space is not empty. Through all the interconnected dust and gas, insanely quiet sounds could, and probably do, get created. And that's something we can detect, but maybe first we can convert the gas leftovers from kilonovas, or even more powerful supernovas. Imagine a creepy wind you probably wouldn't be able to fall asleep to. Well, that was kinda creepy, and I know it's 5 AM and you have work, but Kyle, you still haven't heard two smaller black holes colliding, and their gravitational waves. That kinda sounds like a kilonova and like the leaky tap my wife told me to fix 5 months ago already, which I totally did. But you're right, that was kinda underwhelming considering a collision that takes a millisecond and produces more energy than the sun will in its entire life only creates a small amount of sound, especially when it's the apocalypse of the most powerful object in the universe. Well, I'm sure the supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way, Sagittarius A, will be more creepy with its 4.3 million times the mass of the Sun mass. Are you serious? That sounds like a relaxing day at the beach. What a joke. I think we need to find an example of a black hole in a galaxy that actually makes sound like I mentioned before. There would just need to be a lot of gas, which galaxies have. In the Perseus cluster of galaxy, there lies a supermassive black hole with almost 1 billion solar masses. And this is the only actual sound from space. While black holes don't make any noise, this one sent out pressure waves through hot intergalactic gas that would be translated into a note, like a cosmic subwoofer vibrating in a galactic dance club that I got thrown out of. Now with more data, NASA could bring actual sound waves that have traveled insane distances in the cluster. However, the sound waves were 57 octaves too low for human ears. So they cranked it up 288 quadrillion times. Also, you could feel it in your bones. This isn't sonification of light or gravitational waves like the other projects. This is sound made by a black hole's impact on everything around it. Now we're talking. The good thing is you're probably thinking, hey, what's a more scary thing that could exist than that? Well, my dear boy, quasars. These are ancient, horror-filled, gargantuan, okay, I'll stop, supermassive black holes that melt and shred all gas around it in what's called an active galactic nucleus. Because yes, they power their own galaxies, but they are brighter than everything else within it, despite being the size of the solar system. But they also spit out jets of radiation and particles moving near the speed of light. And quasars are 100,000 times brighter than the Milky Way. So galaxies on steroids. And they sound like it. It's a really good thing those are so old, they are probably all dead by now because the ones we see are around from the formation of the first galaxies onward. Probably dead. Maybe. I hope so. But something that is not dead and will never be dead, we think, is dark matter. Surely the glue of the universe has to make a sound, right? It literally interacts with nothing. Well, that's what you think. It's actually the spine of galaxies, and when two merge and get separated from the dark matter that allowed them to be born, it sounds like this. Now, after supermassive black holes and quasars and dark matter, you want to hear something even crazier? What if you could hear the Big Bang? Yes, that event that happened 13.8 billion years ago, the literal birth of our universe. Once again, this is not a real sound, but visual data transformed into sounds, like if your eyes became ears. Yes, that was literally, sort of, the echo of the first sound that happened ever, in history, in this universe. There you go, Kyle. Now you can sleep. But not before we find out what happens after the universe ends.